Daddy Squared, the Gay Dad podcast with Alex Megan and Jan Megan.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Jan.
How are you?
I'm good, but I have some news for you.
Tell me.
Our babysitter canceled for tonight. She doesn't feel well.
Shit.
So much for our
dancing?
night out. No dancing tonight.
Damn it.
Yeah, we can dance in the living room.
All right.
But anyway. Boy, did I derailed you really good with that,
thank
didn't
you
I?
so much for
My
that.
pleasure.
We have Greg with us, our new and additional co-host. Hi, Greg.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. So Greg is, he doesn't have kids. You're single, right?
Correct.
And we love that because we want to hear some single point of
Right,
view.
we
Single
also
banter.
like to live vicariously through others. So
Tell us more about you.
So I grew up in Boston and I moved into LA when I was 25. I studied biochemistry and then I moved out here.
Why did you
and
move out to LA?
I liked the fact it was more entrepreneurial. I also thought I wasn't really going to meet anyone in Boston that I would be interested in. I mean, it's not impossible, but
when you say entrepreneurial, you mean gay.
no, those are two. Maybe.
How's it? Do you think that that's worked out? Does it match at all with what you imagine?
I mean, nothing really ever matches what you think, but
That's true.
I think in a lot of ways it was a lot better for me. I've tried different things, I've done like go-go dancing, things like that, and more modeling and different opportunities out here. So it's more opportunities I don't think I would have had over there.
Sure.
You're also a blogger.
Well, my Instagram wasn't really a blog. Mostly it was like, hey, look at my fitness pictures and look how good I am. And then as I get older, I was like, maybe I should start helping people and writing some more content to this. Whereas when you first start Instagram, it's like hashtags and like likes, and that's all you care about.
Let's be clear. If you have a really good body, you're helping people by putting pictures up.
It's true. It's true.
It's a service that you're providing to the community, but I understand what you're saying.
Today we're going to talk about single dads finding love, and I love that, Greg, that you joined us for this episode, just because we were able to get a single gay man who's not a dad point of view.
Right, and it may have seemed in the interview that we were trying to set you up with him, but that's not. That's not what was going on. Although if it turned out that way, it would be fine.
We have Daniel Vandenbark, a father of a 7-year-old Torbet, who we became friends with after. And Torbet is really
He's
cool
a great kid,
He's also an interior designer and a branding consultant.
There were sort of two pieces to the interview. There was our talk with him about his experience. And then there was the second part where we brought in Tammy, the LGBT matchmaker. And the tone changed for two reasons, I think, when we introduced Tammy. We went from a much more like guys talking about their experience feeling in the first part of the interview to it had to get a little bit more serious because A, she's a woman, and B, she's about setting you up. So
well, we weren't sure, but we'll get to that after.
Yeah.
I'm more interested about what's it like trying to find love nowadays when you have a work and friends and everything else. Like, it's difficult as it is.
Yeah. I don't go out too much, but I do go out sometimes, but I don't think it's the easiest thing to do. I mean, I have no problem talking to people. I think I'm don't really care about that anymore.
Okay.
But it's hard to find like the right people to talk to.
So you're talking like offline or both?
I think I'm pretty good at both.
Back before I met you, love of
You're
my
also
life.
good in talking.
Yeah, and I don't stop. Well, because if you do it enough, eventually you develop a skill in it. But no, listen. My mom, hi Ma, has a theory which she always used to say to me that it's never about finding enough time to date or finding enough time to find the right guy. In fact, that it's the opposite. She believes that if you fill your life with stuff, things that you're doing that make your life feel full, that keep you busy, it generates a kind of an energy that makes it more likely that you're going to maybe not find lots of people, but find the right person. And I think that there's something to it, because if you make a very kind of practical plan that says, I'm going to set aside X number of hours per week towards finding the right guy, She doesn't believe that that's going to work.
Yeah,
And
I don't think it works like that.
Right.
But you do have to have the intention to.
you have to have the intention, but what she's saying is your life has to be full. Because when it is full, it makes you a more attractive person to other people, but it also just prepares you. It makes you ready to receive a partnership with somebody else.
And it's not just about attaining something to make you feel better or to fill a void. It's about, sharing your love with someone else and being a better couple together rather than a better person by yourself. So
Are you in that state of mind right now, or are you not looking?
I think I'm always looking, but not really that hard, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always keeping an eye on people, like on Instagram, like you never know where you'll meet them, and same going out, like if you see someone you like, just talk to them. But yeah, I don't want to put too much of my
I
attention
don't feel
to
like
it.
people talk to each other anymore when they
That's
go
because
out.
people are afraid. I think everyone's so afraid to talk to people.
Why? Why do you think is that?
It might make it easier for people being like, oh, well, it's easier if I just go online and talk to people. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's the best attitude. I think you should use both tools the most that you can instead of relying on one or the other.
It seems like there's a lot of
I want to
value
encourage all the single dads and single men who are listening to us right now to try to be more and want love. I mean, not all of them want relationship and companionship. To approach people more. So
Well, here.
let's hear from the people who know how to approach people, because I don't.
I just kind of get used. Actually, I read a lot of books about fear and stuff like that.
Okay.
And some things say like, if you're afraid to do something, it's like really good for you, like at work or whatever. It's the same with talking to people. Like,
Step out of your comfort zone, as we say.
And also like a lot of times if I'm afraid to talk to someone, or as I get older, I'm like less and less afraid. But then if you're afraid to talk to the right person, then you're just kind of screwing them over too.
Right.
Because if they're the right person for
So
you, and
what do
you're
you
still
say,
afraid
like-
to talk to them, then well.
You come to them and say, "Hi, I'm Greg."
I guess so. Or a lot of times I kind of like know people from Instagram, and then I'll see them out,
okay.
and then I kind of already know them, and I might have already like talked to them there. So, but yeah, in person I
So
just
you have
say
a
whatever.
prep like Instagram.
I swipe you all the time.
Alex is like, I know what's your answer.
What is it? What is my answer? Go ahead. What do I do
Well, first of all, you throw
when I'm out at night at the bars without you?
you throw a joke. That's how you start. Like you start by making them laugh.
Right,
About
well.
like commenting about something.
That's true. I actually think that if I had the stones, if I really had the nerve to do it, the best thing to do would be to walk up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Alex. What's your name?" Like something incredibly, because right.
And then what?
But well, I guess my point is when you make a joke, it's an excuse. It's a way of saying, if you laugh at my joke and then you say nothing else, I'm covered because I made a joke and now I can walk away and it's fine, right? But if I walk up to you and I say, "Hi, I'm Alex. What's your name?" and you'll probably say what your name is, but then if you're not interested, it's going to drop like a lead balloon right then. We're just going to be standing next to each other, and then I'll have to sort of drift away, and it'll be painful. And yet, on the other hand, it is the ultimate what swipe, which direction is I'm interested.
I don't remember.
Yeah, right. Whatever.
Left? No, right.
Whatever it is, right? So it's the ultimate swipe, right? To walk up to somebody and just say, "Hi, my name is Alex. What's yours?" Because there can be no doubt that means I'm just interested in you.
Right.
I wish that I had back in the day. I wish that I had the nerve to just do it that way, but I didn't. I used a mechanism like a joke.
That makes sense. I think I was telling my friend this, but I was like, I don't think exactly what you say matters. I think the fact that you go and talk to them and try and have a conversation matters. Like
That is
if I'm the
so
person on the other end, like if you screw up in the first two sentences, I don't care.
And it's sort of like when you say happy birthday. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but back when on Facebook you'd get literally 150 happy birthdays. But that's because all it required was the click of a button. Facebook basically said to you, "Don't be a bitch, click happy birthday for your friend," right? And so that's not
That's better
exactly
than nothing.
But my point is,
I think it's sweet. Come on.
we've so simplified the process that when somebody does express interest through these technologies, it doesn't mean as much. You'll be
agree.
like, "Okay, thanks."
It's really hard to read people online, really.
And that's true,
sometimes.
too.
Yeah.
With that, I think we're going to go to the interview
Let's
and
do it.
let Greg eat his cake. Yes, people. Greg eat cakes.
He eats
Yeah,
cake. No,
girl.
it's people who look like that who do eat cake, and it's so infuriating. Daddy Squared, the Gay Dads Podcast, Season 3, is sponsored by Love is Family by ORM Fertility, your gateway to fatherhood. Research begins at loveisfamily.com.
And we're working on new content with them as we speak.
Yeah.
Right as we speak. So stay tuned. If you go to loveisfamily.com or their Instagram account, which is loveisfamily_LGBTQ, give them a follow, which helps us too. And
Yes, please.
let's go to the interview with Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Is it Daniel or Danny?
Wow, I go by anything. Anything
Okay.
is, the lungs is not late for dinner.
Oh, man. That is what we call a dad joke, by the way, which is appropriate.
And I'm full of them.
So let's start with a juicy question.
All right.
At what point do you tell a guy that you're dating that you have a kid?
That's out there up front. I put it out there on the social media. I link the social media to whatever dating stuff I'm at because that is the center of my life.
Do you ever meet anybody at the bar or, the gym?
Bars?
Or is that over now?
When do-
Fine.
What's bars?
Not fine. Not at the bar. Do you ever meet anybody in a way that is not structured like social media, where they're going to have like introductory information?
Yeah, for sure. And to, I think, answer your question is it really runs the gamut. You meet the guys who run for the hills. I
Right.
never wanted that. You meet a fairly large portion of guys that are excited by that. Oh, I always wanted to be a dad. Someday I want to be a dad. And then you get this weird little niche of people who like want in on it now.
What does that mean?
They're
they
like
went on
baby
now?
hungry. Oh my God, you're a dad. I have to marry you tomorrow. And you're just like, all right, slow down.
Yeah, really.
What's going on here?
Don't touch my kids. Wow.
So how do single dads find love?
That's a great question. Let's find somebody that has found it. I've been single now for 5 years, so the better part of my kid's life. It's been tricky. I work a lot. I run my own business, so that eats up most of my time. I've had a couple dating people in the last 5 years, and it worked. Again, there were people. One of them actually wanted kids, one did not. And so that was kind of what ultimately ended that last one.
Oh,
When you say that one did not, so they obviously knew that you had a kid from the outset.
Yeah, it was interesting in kind of our breakup phone call on my ride home from the gym.
Oh, great.
He kind of said, it hit me a few months ago when you said that Torby was asking questions if we were liking each other.
Torby's the kid.
Torby's my son.
He's 7, right?
Yes, almost in a month. So he said at that point, it was kind of like, oh shit. This is a lot more than I was ready to sign up for. He wants to be daddy, but that's usually to the 20-somethings.
Right. That's a totally different kind of daddy. Yeah.
So you told us in a conversation that we had before this interview that you're debating on finding love lately. What does it mean? What are your thoughts?
Well, I just want it. It's not finding me. And I'm in this weird zone where for the first time in my life, I am comfortable being alone. That was never a thing until about 5 years ago. And so there's a part of me who really just loves, I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want it. Nobody questions that.
Well, except that you have a 7-year-old child, so
Who questions?
questions everything and doesn't let you do anything you want when you want. But other than that, I hear
He
you.
actually questions very little, but he does want to know what every single word I say means.
I know that.
Yeah, he kind of likes our little thing because, of course, he's center of that universe and part of it. So
I think it was season 1 that we spoke with a single dad, and he said the same thing in regards to I'm comfortable being alone. Is it something that you reach after a point that you try and you failed and you say, okay, I don't want that?
I think there is a bit of that. I totally think there's a bit of that. And then I sit here and I start pondering, okay, is it because I'm 43 now and you reach that certain age where you're just less willing to deal with the shit. Mm-hmm. I don't want the antics. I don't want the silliness. I want somebody that has responsibility, professionalism, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's actually the bigger part of it is no. I would be willing to date, marry somebody tomorrow if it was the right person and they had their stuff together. But the problem is there's just so many people out there with too much crap that they're still dealing with. Right. And like, I'm not dealing with that.
And where do you find them? Mostly on apps, I think, I believe?
I dabble on the apps. I get annoyed with the apps because it's the same antics that probably many people here know about. So I don't really love the apps. Mm-hmm. But yet I hold out hope because you go and you talk to somebody and you're like, how'd you meet? Oh, we met on Grindr. Of course. So I'm like, well, so there might be hope.
So what's your daily routine? I mean, I wonder if there's any way to inject dating or whatever. Like, it's so hard.
There becomes very little time. Interestingly, I mean, we've had a great what they call the 2255 or whatever split with our divorce.
Oh, I see.
So we have a routine where Torby's with me on certain days, him on certain days, and then it alternates the weekends.
Okay.
Ask any divorced parent, they'll probably know it. That was great when we were doing that because it was a built-in schedule. So I knew on these days, I've got the kid. On these days, I have a choice. I can either barrel through more work that I didn't get done, or I can, go out and be an adult.
Right.
That worked out well. For this last month, we've had a slight shift because my ex has been extra busy, and so I've kind of taken my son full-time in a way, and it's been a really weird reality. When you go into divorce, you think, "Oh, I want my kid full time. I want my kid full time," but it's full time.
Yeah.
And when you run your business, and your business is it's long hours and big days, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a selflessness to becoming a parent. There just is. And so many gay men can't even become parents to dogs because that's too much commitment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this, of course, as you guys know, is a huge leap forward even over a dog because the dog ultimately becomes fairly independent quickly. Your kid does not.
Right.
So it is interesting. My friends, hey, what are you doing tonight? Can you come out and hang out with us? No, I've got my kid. Boom.
Yes.
Hey, you want to go to the movies tonight? No, I got my kid. Boom.
Yep.
So it's a commitment. But then you get to go skiing. You get to go doing these wonderful things. You see their brains connecting all those wonderful little details. You get to relive your childhood through their eyes.
Right.
It's one of my favorite, most inspiring moments. All of a sudden now I've turned into this like 90-year-old grandpa who just gets excited to look back through the photo album and go, oh my God, I remember when.
Wow. Do you do the voice too and everything?
Oh, we do
great.
voices all the time. We talk like an Englishman, Di.
Right. Very good.
Don't judge me.
So I have a question. When someone comes and wants to be a daddy right away, do you feel that they're really more interested in being a dad than interested in you? You know what I mean? Like if they come off too fast off the bat.
That's a great question. Yeah, it always comes back to the age. I'm 43 and the silver hair is starting to pop. And so, yeah, that whole daddy reference now definitely has a double meaning. That's a tricky one. Yes, it happens on both regards. I would say more often than not right now, my statistics would say that more of them are after daddy.
Well, so it does fire up a bit of a flare, but on the other hand, I guess I would say this, right? Attraction is a very complicated thing, and if somebody is attracted to you because you're a daddy, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you are actually a father is kind of a factor of that. I don't know that that's necessarily disqualifying, right? I mean, it's kind of part of what
daddy in the bedroom, daddy in the playground,
right? I mean, whatever. Yeah.
People started calling me daddy, and I find it very disturbing. I don't know. I don't know about you.
You'll get used to it after a while.
No, I mean,
it takes a settling in period.
They mean it in a sexy way, and I'm like, there's nothing sexy about being a daddy, especially
there are dad fans.
So was Torby adopted?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more?
We were sitting in the living room one night back in 2010 when my ex had referenced a conversation we had about kids and said, would you really like to have kids? And I realized at that moment that I had kind of given up on that dream and fantasy because as so many of us gay men in that era kind of grew up not thinking that was possible, anything beyond being an uncle. So we talked more seriously about it. And then it was, of course, do we do in vitro, do we do adoption, which then ties back into some of my deep-rooted beliefs on why gays are on the planet, one of them being just giving love to people and kids who need the love, but also population control. And anyway, we battled through that. I really wanted to see what my own DNA would look like. And so through the course of it, we decided we could buy a house and remodel it nice and make it a nice home for the family and adopt. Or we could do the in vitro process.
Yes, we're familiar with that that question. Yeah.
I tend to be one who I want my cake and eat it too. So it's like, well, let's adopt and in vitro and remodel the house. So we adopted, and it's really never looked back.
How long had you guys been together when you had that conversation? You started the process.
That conversation was early. That was roughly 6 to 11 months. 6 to 11 months in that range. We got engaged about month 6.
Okay.
But we set the date for a year and a half later, so we would have almost 2 years of dating before we got married.
Got it. Well, you have to get the ice sculptures and all that kind of stuff set
Takes
up.
a long time.
Takes a long time. The doves have to be released.
Well, the doves had to be hatched first, yes.
But I do.
And we used adopted doves.
Of course, right. Do you ever ask yourself the question of what would have happened in your relationship had you not had kids?
It wouldn't have lasted as long.
Oh, so having the kids actually, the kid, excuse me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to answer that too fast if you're listening.
No. Yeah, listen, would you like us to inject a pause? We can do that in edit. No, I mean, I think that it's interesting that you have that, that you're so sure of that.
I've had 5 years to process
Right.
it. He's a really great guy. We all have our shit. And, I grew up a ton in the last 5 years. I have carried around crap my entire life. I have gone to therapy a million times looking for those answers, and nothing like time answers those questions. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the biggest frustrations, probably one of the biggest anxieties I have about not being in a relationship. I want to try all this new stuff out. I want to show how awesome I am now.
You're listening to Daddy Square, the Gay Dads podcast. We're taking a break in the interview, and we're here with our co-host, Greg. Greg, would you date a single dad?
I would think about it. I'm not sure.
What are the pros and cons about it? Assume he's hot and he's that should be a given. He's hot and then whatever. But
That makes it easier.
yeah. No, let's stipulate hot. But seriously,
I think one, it would be added responsibility, because you're not just taking on the responsibility of getting along with a partner, but also with a kid.
because that assumes that if the relationship were to progress to the point where you'd be introduced to the kid or even become daddy number 2, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another thing would be, well, maybe you might skip part of your life. You might fast forward over the couple without kids phase,
Right.
which can last,
that's
like a
interesting.
long time, in some cases forever.
I read this week an article written by a single dad, Kyle from Utah, about him being a package deal as he dates men, and he says that it isn't always a burden to date men with children. And I think
He's a dad, though.
yes, but it's from his point of view.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe it is for single men, not for other single dads.
I think it depends on your state of mind. If you're somebody who has really kind of dreamed about having kids, maybe you're of an age where you're starting to feel like you're ready for that. And then you meet somebody who has a wonderful kid and you say, why don't I just join this thing? That sounds great. But that's how you have to feel. Otherwise,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the second part of the interview, we talked about matchmaking with the LGBT matchmaker Tammy. She was fun.
She was great.
And Tammy Shaklee is the founder of H4M Matchmaking, and she got us a little bit into the world of matchmaking.
What's the H?
Homosexuality?
I find that hard to imagine. We might want to look it up. Anyway, let's go.
How do you feel about matchmaking?
I love it. I'm up for it. I just never seek it out.
Did you ever, somebody...
I tried it in
Introduced you?
college. There was
after you got divorced.
Oh, no, I haven't tried it. I've asked my friends
sometimes
to be
it's-
matchmakers, but
Oh, really?
I don't have any good yentas in my...
We have Tammy Shaklee on the line with us?
Tammy?
Yes.
All right, hello.
She's a gay and lesbian matchmaker.
I am. In full disclosure, I am a straight ally and I am not a parent. I do not have children. But I met my husband because I hired a matchmaker. And years later, I was trying to refer a gay friend, and he's the one that educated me that matchmakers in our industry, now that I'm in the industry, we're not matchmaking LGBTQ singles. And I did research and designed a company that's all I do.
I think there's a prejudice about people who work with matchmakers, that they are desperate.
Right.
What can you say about that?
That's such a good point. When I learned that, I took it, I was offended a little bit because I thought, well, I hired a matchmaker. Does that mean I felt like I was desperate? Absolutely not. Just the opposite. I thought I have worked so hard in 3 careers to build to this status of owning my own home, having my own car, great friends, disposable income, travel budget. I no longer clean my own house or mow my own lawn. Why? I'm not going to go online. I'd rather spend time with friends and family and in my career and just delegate this. Just hire someone that does this all day, every day. So I looked at it as something I had earned for myself. I didn't look at it as anything disparaging.
And you also mentioned that not everyone can be a client. So
correct. Well,
what
the
does it
beauty
mean?
of owning my own company is I get to choose who I work with. And I know you guys, a couple of you can relate as well, that if I don't feel like I can be successful in setting them up, I'll try to refer them to someone else, or oftentimes send them to maybe an app or a website that will be more suitable for what they're seeking.
And is
your
that
goals might be better for Scruff.
right? Exactly. I mean, is that really what it comes down to? Is you can tell that this person isn't ready for a serious relationship, and it's
It's a lot of that. Sometimes if they just need to go to a real jock, I'm fine with that. But here's
used to
how I
use
look
that.
at it. To spend the time
Old
to
school.
make the inquiry, to do the telephone call, to do the interview with the matchmaker, as a single, you are obviously seeking a committed long-term relationship, because otherwise, why not go on the app and someone can be over in 15 minutes? and trust me, I, as a straight ally, I am very sensitive to. I don't judge based on immediate gratification. I just always tell my clients, I want you to be healthy, happy, and safe, because when I call you, it's someone that's been vetted, had a criminal background check. Everyone we introduce has done the same hour-and-a-half interview with me via video. So we truly know the people that we're introducing. But men are visual, men are sexual. If it's immediate gratification, call it that. That's okay. But that's not what we do.
So for dating, your attractiveness is important. So one time I actually got approached by someone like you, and they didn't actually show me the picture of the guy until after an hour and a half long conversation. So I was wondering if that's the process that you follow, and how do you feel about doing that?
Yes, I do. We call it scouting in our industry. And so based on where my clients are, I only match in the U.S. But if we're seeking more 30-year-olds in Denver or more 40-year-olds in Florida, we do have recruiters that will approach someone and to see if they're a compatible match for some of our clients. But they still have to do the interview with me. Our service, we do not show photos. And I know that's very unique, but I go back to men are visual, men are sexual. And with all of the apps and online dating, if it's just a photo that's going to be a great co-parent with you in the future, then why isn't that working?
So Tammy,
It's so much more than that. It's what you want in your future, what you want your life to look like, how you treat your families, how you were treated by your families. There's a lot of history and vetting that goes into finding likelihood of compatibility.
Tammy, I love that you said that, because one of the things I hate most about the apps is the truly immediate gratification. Swipe left, swipe right, swipe left, swipe right. Everybody just wants more pictures. So one of the things for me has been about, I see somebody coupled with somebody, I see somebody on the street, and I'm like, if I would have seen them on the app, would have I swiped left or right? And I would have gotten rid of them probably. Yeah. And then I see them in person and I smell them, I feel their energy, whatever it is, and I'm like, dude, that person is really, really awesome. So commend you for no pictures.
So you may not show pictures, but you see the pictures, I assume, right?
Oh, Yes. Oh, yes. I see all of my clients' social media. I have photos.
Right.
I take a photo from the day we interviewed together because I want it very present day, how
So
they're
that means-
even presenting themselves during the interview. They need to be ready to go on a date and to really meet their partner, that this is an investment. This is a process. And if I think they need to update their glasses, or if I think they'd look a little better showing off that dimple and shaving the scruff, I tell them.
Right.
Because I know what I have listened to for 7 years of what men find attractive in other men. And so it's really that I'm the voice or the conduit, if you will.
So that means that. I'm sorry, I'm still talking.
know.
So it's just something that happens a lot in our relationship. So that means that you actually, when you're looking at connecting people with each other, you'll look at their, both of their pictures and say, there are all these other things where they're compatible, but I think that physically they will not be compatible with each other. You do take that into account.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In our industry, we have to, because one question, if you ever interview with a matchmaker, is to ask, are you setting him up or are you setting me up? Because compatibility would mean that you're likely to choose them for a second date.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
So how do you ask them, what type of person they're into? Like,
oh, it's an hour and a half interview. And having done news and broadcast news, I really am interested in everyone's human interest story. I mean, already I've made a page full of notes on Daniel because it would make his
And we haven't even
interviews
gotten
much
to the good
easier
stuff.
because I know about him. But we truly research the people that we're introducing. It doesn't mean everyone's stellar or without baggage or without a history. I think what they've gone through, their experiences, their journey, where they are on the path, however you want to refer to it, that's what makes them interesting today. So you want to meet someone today and join them on this journey, and to ideally meet your equal. I say that you walk side by side through, that life is richer when you share it with somebody. And so everybody's looking for something a little different. We don't treat it like a cookie cutter process. It's very customized based on the individual.
I assume that you have match made. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever it is. Gay dads.
Here's what was surprising to me and why I was so thrilled to start following you guys is that every year on the anniversary of the company, I do an assessment of what has been surprising. What have I learned this year? How have I grown to be more sex positive, body positive, just as a human and as a person running this company? In the first year, I was surprised that more than 50% of the men I had interviewed wanted a family. At a different stage, they would sometimes say, yes, I definitely want children, or I think it's a conversation I want to have with the right person. I hope we're in agreement. Or if they really wanted to be a dad, I could get there if they were the right person for me. So I was shocked. I did not expect that in eligible singles that I would be meeting.
When you are talking to somebody who has a child or more than one child already, and then you're talking to somebody who does not, what are you asking? What are you going to ask the father? How is it going to differ, other than the basic question of,
Right.
I assume you're looking for somebody who would also like to have kids. What other things do you find are kind of surprising and subtly different between the interests of a father and the interests of someone who isn't one?
It's been interesting. From the very beginning, one of my early clients was someone who had already hired a surrogate and was having twins. And so that was my first real test of setting up single dads. And it went swimmingly well. I was just so pleasantly surprised that
Pun intended.
the admiration that the other bachelor would already have for him in not even having met him yet. And so what I quickly learned as I was interviewing single dads or those about to be single dads, already working with an adoption agency, for example, I would see them as brave. I would see them as courageous, as giving, as loving, as generous. And so that's, to me, the perception these other single men have for them as well. So it's really one of admiration. I've never heard anyone talk about oh, they've got a kid, that's baggage or whatever. Even my clients over the years of all age ranges that have been divorced from a woman and have children, and that's really on trend right now to be coming out after your kids have both gone out to college. And that's really been a trend that's been happening since marriage equality passed. So it's kind of got a trickle down effect, if you will, or trickle up. I don't even know how to refer to that. But what's interesting is, even in saying divorced from a woman, 2 grown kids or 2 college age kids or 2 high school age kids, the other person still sees that as admirable. And I think that
You said abnormal?
It's admirable, yeah, that you were a father, that you did this, you had such courage and you got through it. Right. And your kids are doing great, and they get excited to hear about, well, where do their kids go, where does his kids go to college? And I'd say, well, save that for first date conversation. I'm just letting you know that they've been a responsible parent and now a responsible single dad, and here's the arrangements that they have or whatever. They alternate holidays or whatever it is, so that the other person can know what they're going into. But I also have really guidelines for single dads on first dates. I really want you to be a bachelor, and I really want you to not show a photo of your children on the first date.
Oh, interesting.
Wow, that would be tough. And again,
that's a good one too, and it's a tricky one
because they ask.
You said for the baby hungry, right? It happened to me in my matches with my matchmaker. They would set me up with a single dad. I did not want to see the picture of the child. I just remember thinking, if this doesn't lead to a second date, why do I need that? And someday that child is going to be gone out of the home, and now it's going to be you and me.
Right.
So you and I better have a great first date, slowly start to get to know each other and like each other before we enter this other person into the relationship.
And sometimes as gay men, we just need that extra little reminder of what's responsible.
Right.
Right?
So do you recommend them even talking about their kid in the first date, let alone a picture?
Just briefly, because as a matchmaker, I've already verbally told each bachelor about the other. So I kind of handled that to where they know that they have a 4-year-old little boy, but, let's stay focused on each other for the first date. Right. So it comes up, but what you don't want to get caught doing, and it happens, I love you parents, but it happens. You get excited, you start telling a story, it led to the next one and the next one, and now I know every detail about that first attempt at teaching them soccer, right?
Yeah. I was so sure that would never happen to me, and I suck.
Oh, yeah.
I will tell people everything for hours.
5 minutes.
Unbearable.
5 minutes with Alex and you'll know
fortunately, I'm married to someone who's not likely at any time soon to dump me. We don't know for sure. This is the podcast still has a few more minutes to go. But I what I would wonder is this, and this is a question for you as much, is there...
Daniel.
But I'm sorry, right, I'm supposed to say the name for Daniel. You can't see us. It's a podcast. I assume that there must occasionally feel like there's a bit of a priest complex in that when you're meeting somebody and they look at you as a father, and it's not the sexy daddy thing. It's I'm a father, so now I'm not allowed to be crazy anymore, and I'm not allowed to be. Do you sometimes feel like you're perceived as a less sexual and less male being because you're attached to a child?
I don't find that happening.
Not when people know
but
me.
Keep in mind, I'm in the middle of describing these people to each other. So I focus on, he's a lifelong surfer from the coast. He goes to this music festival, in this country every year. He does this. So there's still things I point out that what they do as a man, what their hobbies, passions, interests are, what they do as a family member, what they do as a neighbor. I point out the whole person, not just the fact that they're a dad.
Right. Wait, can I just ask one other thing that just occurs to me? It's a critically important question. Don't make that face.
Yes, Alex.
Do you talk about what's the word? Orientation, position,
Top bottom.
Top bottom. Do you talk about that?
Versatile.
You must, right?
Verse bottom.
This is probably a whole nother podcast, but I will tell you this.
I gotta know.
At the end of the focus group interviews, it came down to, am I going to ask top, bottom, versatile? Am I going to ask HIV status?
Right.
And I made the decision no, that as an educated,
So we get to do that
professional
on our
adult,
own.
as a straight woman who hired a matchmaker, I wasn't asked about STDs. I wasn't asked about, I really wasn't asked any types of questions like that. Now, again, it's not apples to apples, but they didn't say, Tammy, do you prefer 50 Shades of Grey? I mean, I'm a grown-ass woman is what I would have said to them, that if you introduce me to a man that's likely compatible, he and I will have those conversations when it's time, but could you just do the vetting and the introducing, please? And so I decided to treat my clients with the same dignity and respect I was treated with, because I said with the apps, we've even got measurements. I mean, if it's all down to a photo and a position and a status and a length, well, then how come you guys are single?
Right. I buy
So
it.
it's really about introducing two humans that are likely to choose each other for a second date, that are taking time. The anthropologists say it takes 4 good dates when you meet someone new to see if they could be in your future. So I introduce you as
That's
bachelors.
what I'm doing wrong.
You single dads on the first date, and then you can start to become dads, and single parents by the 4th date, if it leads to that.
So you're saying not to decide on the first date?
No, I prefer that we are the only company that we coordinate every detail of the first date and every detail of the second date, because it's just more traditional how people used to get to know each other. It's a true blind date. You've not seen a photo, so there's natural anxiety. I had it. And on the second date, you're more relaxed. And we've had LGBTQ singles start to fall for each other on the second date after the first date feedback, when they said, yeah, I like him. I can see why you introduced us. I said, well, let's just do a coffee then for the second date. And the next day the feedback is, oh my gosh, we were at coffee for 3.5 hours. I said, told you.
What is your kind of success rate, so to say? Like, how often do you hit it on the first time, second, third, fourth?
We have such a large client base. Those statistics are excellent questions, but impossible for me to keep up with on a daily basis. So we start measuring success when both bachelors call in the next day, said we had a great time, we went a second date. I mean, that was my first phone call this morning. 2 bachelors that met in Texas. Both went a second date. We're getting it coordinated right away. So after the second date, when I hear that they're coordinating their own third date on their own, and I get out of the way, men will tell me it's the most anticipated third date they've ever had, because we do not allow sex of any kind on the first or second date.
Whoa. Talk about burying the lead. Wait a minute. When you say you do not allow, I want to know how you enforce that.
That this is a more traditional way of meeting a compatible partner. So when I say don't allow, our guidelines say no sex of any kind on the first date, no sex of any kind on the second date. After your second date feedback, and we'll have your first and second date.
Now, is this Bill Clinton
back to back
sex?
pretty quick. Then we don't care where you go, what you do, or how long you do it. But we've given you a strong foundation with someone who is likely to be a compatible partner with you for a long, long time.
So
Wow.
what if one person is really interested in the second date and the other one's like on the fence? Do you kind of push them over and say, why don't you do it? Or do you give them some time? Or how do you go about that situation?
It's a lot of verbal dating coaching. I do unlimited dating coaching with all of my clients. And so sometimes I nudge based on their personality. Sometimes I would not nudge if it's just too much. But sometimes they'll come back to me and say, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this. This is just dating. And I realize I've never really done this. So is that first guy available for a second date? Because I don't know what I was judging him based on. And I said, you were judging him based on your online experience. And that's not what this is.
Right. So you said that, you heard our conversation with Daniel before. Would you say that, like, Daniel is a potential client of yours?
Oh my goodness! I have single dads I could set him up with, and I'll tell you. And again, I just think this is on trend, but now is a good time to meet a single dad. When Andy Cohen did this and lived it out loud for everyone to see, it's had, and again, I know there's mixed reviews, but it's had, I think, a positive effect on those that see someone that can do it on their own. And Lord knows, we all know he has so much help, I'm sure, but he also has friends that are coming around and being supportive. And I just think it's a good time to meet a single dad. And I think Daniel sounds amazingly eligible.
He has a great voice. It's a really good voice.
What sort of questions would you ask him? Like, let's say that he came.
We would start by going all the way back to high school, and I would start interviewing him based on his high school experience through college, education, career, the different career shifts he's had. We'd talk a little bit about his own family growing up, relationships he has with family members now. We would talk then a little bit about past relationships, but then we would talk about all that he wants in his life. How does he see, is he a beach or a cabin guy? Is he the guy that talks about retirement, or he's the one that wants to own his own company till the end, And then we talk about the ideal guy. And we spend a lot of time talking about what would really be compatible with you, what qualities and values are important to bring someone else into your home and around your child. And we really drill down on that. And by the end of the interview, I would know, at least initially, who he would be compatible with without even looking at our system.
Just for fun, do you do politics?
We mention it.
I mean, especially these days.
And of course, everyone starts with,
politics
if they
and religion.
voted for, and I said, stop. You don't even have to use that qualifier.
So then how much time does it take for you to come up with somebody?
Oh, yeah. So we process it all manually. I mean, as humans in the office, even, because I just don't believe the algorithm works in matchmaking for same-sex singles, because just because two guys play tennis does not mean they're compatible. And so we process a lot. And sometimes I ask more questions, and we really look at each of you side by side, and then I make the decision. And usually your first match is in 2 weeks. And I call and tell you about him. If you want to meet him, I call and tell him about you. But we're protecting your privacy. We've done due diligence to make sure you don't already know each other. Straight matchmakers don't know to do that, by the way. And then we also tell you about each other and see, if this is someone that sounds like you want to meet. And if so, we coordinate every detail of the date. We do everything but go on the date.
How do you know we haven't met with all of the Grindr and Scruff hookups?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'll use first name and industry, not last name or where they work.
Right.
And so
That's not going to help. Not in those circumstances, anyway.
You know how many Daniels we have?
Exactly. So sometimes they'll say, wait, let me look at all the Kevins I know.
Right.
Plus, when I'm using the apps, I go by Zanzibar.
Wow. Hung like a horse.
Oh, my God. Okay.
That's all I see when I hear that.
Zanzibar? Sure, why not?
So Tammy, what's your? Do you have like some sort of an advice for first dates? Like, how long does it supposed to happen?
We do. I love our guidelines, and I don't mind sharing them. Again, this is based on research. So first date should be light. No more than 2 hours, no more than 2 drinks. Now, again, remember, I'm saying no sex of any kind. So I'm putting some guidelines in place to help with that. But we recommend from the time we tell you about a match until you meet them, no Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, online app checking. Let it be an organic introduction, a true blind date. Then we pick the place, we make the reservation. You only know each other's first name. And we recommend no more than 2 hours, no more than 2 drinks, no cell phones on ring or on the table. Now, for my single dads, what's important for me is reliable childcare, and that I think you should step away from the table halfway through the date and check in with your childcare to make sure everything's okay, but step away from the table to do that respectfully. And it's being a gentleman, and it's being mannerly. And then at the end of the date, it's always Dutch treat. So you're both in your wallet at the same time. To split that tab, that's a great time to exchange contact information if you choose.
What about a kiss? What about a kiss?
No, she said no sex.
Oh,
I mean, it's all, I don't know what your definition is.
Just finger gestures.
No kiss?
No, I highly recommend a kiss.
Aha!
Now I'm liking you more,
Yes,
Tammy.
yes.
I was on the fence about you a minute ago.
There should be.
Because remember, I said more traditional introductions, courting, and dating. What I did not realize is gay men are not very good at the courting.
We're horrible at it.
Yeah, we are.
I know.
At it.
Straight
And
to
it's
bed.
fun to learn to be a flirt again and have an anticipated delayed satisfaction.
Yeah.
And men just tend to get to know each other better, and they really do find it refreshing, is what they tell me, because I'm prepared every year on the anniversary of the company to adjust the business model if I've done something wrong, and so far no tweaking has been needed.
And you have to be careful of that word in this community.
Yeah, what is tweaking is a drug thing, right?
Yeah. Twerking is
Not a
different.
tweak, a tweak.
Can't do either.
Tammy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure and delight. And I hope it's inspirational to Daniel, too.
Yeah, thank you.
When
Tammy.
he's happy being alone, that means he's a very content, satisfied dad and bachelor. And that's a pretty great bachelor to meet.
Oh, interesting. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
That is squared.
We misbehaved with Tammy. We did. Little bit.
Is she based here in LA?
No, I think she's like on and off
Phoenix?
from LA.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's Texas.
It's funny. I absolutely think she's right in
I do.
everything she's saying, and yet how can we avoid making fun of it? We can't. We can't because we're gay men, and so there's much joking to be made about proper courting amongst gay men, because at the speed that we generally operate, before the first date, there an awful lot has happened.
But that has been the fun thing about the last 5 years and my dating, because I've had old me was boom, let's go to bed. Oh my God, he didn't make me go home that night. That means we should get married. Okay, this is all good. Da da da. And I suffocate that relationship. Need me. But this last 5 years, I found myself getting into this rhythm where I was almost tantalizing these dating people, which wasn't really good. But it was just kind of like, yeah, doesn't taste right. Throw it out.
Why?
Eh,
Why do
doesn't
you
want
think
that.
that?
Boom, throw
Is
it
it
out.
because you were busy enough with your kid that you were like, look, unless it's exactly what I want, I'm not interested? Or
I think
what?
it was that pendulum swing, right? I was kind of exercising my new tools.
I see.
And my new comfort, where I wanted that threshold to be to mark that desired effect. So with what Tammy said, I love it. I agree with it. It can be very difficult to want to keep it in your pants or similar, but
And I think that she's talking about your phone.
It is the phone.
Pants.
Yes, phone in the pants and
the other
socks on the
thing,
feet. But no, I think I love what she said.
Okay, so I hope we got some valuable.
I think it was
Okay.
good. I think it was good. She was fun, by the way. I enjoyed her.
Thank you, Daniel, so much.
Thank you, guys, as well.
We'll follow up on you to see what's happening
Sounds
with
great.
the dating.
With dating.
Please update us.
Will do.
Okay.
And we're coming back from our interview with Tammy Shaklee. This is Daddy Square, the Gay Dads podcast, season 3, by the way.
I'm Jan.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Greg.
And you know what, Greg? It was a revelation to me that you got approached by a matchmaker.
I forget how exactly I got approached. It was somewhere on.
Online?
I think it was online. I don't really remember, but I got approached and I was like, sure, I'll go. I mean, I really had a lot of doubts because I'm like, all right, how does she know what I'm attracted to? And that's not all about that, but it's a big part of it.
Right. Did she come to you because she already had material and she was trying to say,
Pretty
hey,
much.
got it.
So she had material.
Interesting.
And then I think I might have asked like, hey, can I see? Do you give out pictures now? I think that's why I brought it up.
Oh.
And then I don't think she was like, no, we have to meet in person. And then I was like, well, whatever, it'll be an adventure at least.
Oh my God. I mean, I would go, but I would like do a lot of research on the matchmaker. Like,
That's
who
true.
are you?
That's
Right.
true.
That-
Right. I did it, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I did many years ago when I lived in New York. I fancied myself an executive, and there was some kind of executive-y type of thing. And
Cause hookers.
No, you don't need a matchmaker for hookers, I don't think. But in any case, poor Tammy. Tammy, we're very respectful people. But no, it's funny because to hear Tammy talk about it is so different from what my experience was many years ago when I did this, because the people that I met with, they did ask me questions that were similar to the ones that Tammy talks about, but the people that they matched me up with felt like they had not listened to a word I said. I mean, sort of like when you go to a real estate agent and you say, you know, whatever you do, I do not want a swimming pool. And the first thing that they show you is a house with a swimming pool. So it had, let me just say that there were a lot of swimming pools.
Daddy, that's QR.com.
So Greg, every time we have you on as our co-host, because of your experience teaching us about money, we would love to extract from you some tips. Okay. And one area that it seems particularly relevant is we've just finished 2019 and December, which is, at least in America, notoriously a month where people more or less bankrupt themselves, you know, with money and parties and everything else. Mm-hmm. And we'd love to hear some advice from you about how you start a new year on the right foot.
I think there's like two things to that. I think in my past a lot I would go bankrupt. I think as I got older and learned more, then I'm like, okay, maybe you should plan ahead more and start like pre-calculating some numbers before you go out and spend money. So that's one advice. And then the other one is actually made some New Year's goals and actually prioritize them and put them above my computer for 2020. And so I think I put actually a financial one there.
You know I'm going to ask you what it is, don't you?
No, not numbers, but you know, what does it mean?
My first one was actually to reduce my personal loan because I have one that's pretty high. And so basically I wanted to reduce it so the interest rate is more manageable.
Got it.
So that was the first one on my list. And I think, you know, if I put it there and it's always in plain sight, then it'll keep me a little bit more grounded and keep me reminded like, hey, this is my primary goal for the year.
Right.
It's also good to keep track every month and plan ahead as well. Like, I think this is like I guess you could call it an awareness thing. If you just swipe your card and you don't look at and you just look at the numbers in your balance, like it tells you some information, but actually like use a tool called Mint. It's not the best tool.
Yeah,
they might hate me for saying
Mint
that.
was still around.
It's not the best tool, but there aren't any amazing tools that I've used for that, but it's good enough to get the job done.
One of the things that I really have wanted for a long time, and there are like technical reasons why this isn't generally supported, is I would like a very detailed breakdown of the way we spend money on our credit card. Because, you know, you go to
90% Amazon.
Well, right, but that's the problem. If you go to it's true. It is.
That is the problem.
It is
right.
literally 90% Amazon. But the problem is that if you buy things on Amazon, some of the things you buy are food. Some of the things you buy are
toys.
The
No,
toys.
you're right.
And what I need to see is how much money did you spend on toys?
That's also hard on there too, because it's just going to put it for shopping, but then you have to manually go in and go, okay, I'm going to split $20 went to toys and $20 went to and then it ends up taking almost too much time away from you.
Right.
So then it's challenging. Yeah.
But I agree for any New Year resolution, if you put it on even your calendar, just to remind you. Like I was talking about reminding you every Monday at 7 a.m. that this is your resolution. You start off the week.
That's a good idea.
With the intention of the goals that you set.
I think a lot of times we get distracted by different things in life and then we forget what our primary goals are, and that would be helpful for that too.
I want to finish with a cute story that happened this week. And Alex, it's kudos to you. Doing something very cute, very creative with our kids. So he was laying in bed last night with our kids, tell them stories, and one of the things that he told them is like, if you're not happy with your name, you can switch it by the time you're 18.
When you're 18 years old, you're allowed to change.
And then he asked them like, what would you want your name to be?
Yes.
Adam wanted his name to be Cool.
Yeah, so Adam says, I want to change my name to Cool, which I thought was pretty badass. I mean, in 1972, it would have been a great thing to change your name to. But anyway, so I talked to him about that for a little bit, and then I turned to Ben and I say,
no, then he started crying, and he's like, I can't wait until I'm 18. So we started calling him Cool now.
That's right.
We just started.
And then I turned to Ben and I said, so Ben, what do you want? And he said, James. And I'm like, I don't know how we got from Cool to James. I asked him where he got the name James from, and he had no idea. It just came out of thin air.
Just thank God it's not Dua Lipa or something.
Oh, that's right. It could have been Dua Lipa.
If there's something you'd like to share with us or for us to talk about during the season, please don't hesitate to write to us, hello@daddysqr.com. We even have a phone number. You can text us or call us at 213-793 8939.
That's a United States telephone number.
If you ask your kids what do you think their name should be,
Oh, that's a fun
please
one.
send it to us. Yeah, we want to know.
Oh, that's such a great idea. Please, yeah, ask your kids what they would change their name to if they could. And please, when you tell us what they came up with, tell us their age as well, because I think that would be
it's
very
really
helpful.
interesting. All right, guys, thank you so much. Greg, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
And, see you next week.
And Happy New Year. If you're thinking about having kids, start your search at loveisfamily.com by ORM Fertility. For over 30 years, ORM Fertility has been at the forefront of fertility services, providing personalized care and helping all family types grow. ORM are honored to be a trusted resource for the gay community on their journey to parenthood and are now sharing all they know with you at loveisfamily.com. ORM's expert team gives gay parents-to-be all the information they need and guides them through their unique fertility journey, providing expertise, education, and support every step of the way. Over 1,000 gay couples and singles from all over the world have started or grown their family with ORM's support and fertility and financial expertise. Find out more at loveisfamily.com, ORM Fertility's online resource for gay dads and LGBTQ+ family building.